Welcome back to the Film Library, a Kanopy podcast where we dig into the best films, documentaries, and series you can stream for free. Yep, free, with your library card. I'm Kristy Puchko, entertainment editor at Mashable.com.
And I'm Jeff Rauseo, a lifelong movie fan and online film nerd who basically spends all my free time watching, rewatching, and talking about movies. And I'm very excited for this one.
Today we're stepping into the shadows. Cue the ominous music because this episode is all about mysteries and thrillers. That means twisted plot lines, unreliable narrators, perfect alibis, and nail-biting revelations.
We've pulled some incredible titles from Kanopy's collection, films that'll keep you guessing, raise your heart rate, and leave you thinking long after the credits roll. Some of them are stylish film noirs, others are slow burn indies, and a few just might make you question everything you knew about justice.
Before we crack into these case files, we've got a little warm-up question. Jeff, I'm going to start with you. What's the first movie that truly shocked you with a twist ending?
I'm going to go with Arlington Road for my pick. And it was one of the first R-rated thrillers that I ever watched. I was maybe like 12 or 13, and my dad was just like going through the DVD collection and was like, watch this one. So popped that in, and I had never seen anything like it. Like, I'm used to like PG-13 and kind of sanitized content. This dives right in. The ending of this one, I don't even want to spoil it because I think it's such a good ending that I wish more people would go and watch it. But blew my mind. I mean, it just twists and then twists again and turns, and you're like, you honestly don't fully know what's going on, I would say, until the last scene. You're like, it's one of those that truly keeps it into the last 5 minutes of the movie. And then you get the explanation, and then boom, credits, and you just sit there with your jaw, wide open. So that one turned me on to thrillers like this, where I was like, oh, there's more than like horror. There's this in between that's so cool. So that's my pick.
Well, mine is a horror movie, but I have a fun story to go with it. I went with The Sixth Sense, which, yes, a lot of people are blown away by The Sixth Sense, but I went to the theater with my friend. I was in high school, and I was too young to get into the movie we went there to see, which was Detroit Rock City. It was rated R. Great day of loss for us. But so we were like, I guess we'll see The Sixth Sense. We didn't know what it was about. It was just the other movie playing at that theater. So my friends and I went to see this movie, had our minds completely blown by M. Night's like weird twisty story, had no idea what was coming, and walked out just like, but also walked out. It was like a Friday. So we walked out at like 3:00 and then like went to go meet up with our other friends and just became like heralds of this movie that nobody had seen yet. And we're like, guys. So like I was like on the front lines of people being freaked out by Sixth Sense. And to this day, I'm very thrilled with that experience.
That's the best when you walk out and you're like, I have to tell everybody about I had that actually with Inception, because that came out when I was in high school. I went and saw it 4 times. I just kept bringing other people from high school to go see it. I love that moment when you come out and you're like, everybody has to see this movie right now.
I am going to tease that I have a movie on my list like that, and we'll get into how people reacted to my enthusiasm later. I also have a question of, what's a mystery or thriller that you guessed the ending way before it was revealed?
I love this question because no matter what you answer, people are going to be like, no, you didn't. You did not guess this. But I'm going to go with Knives Out. And it's been out long enough, but I'll kind of beat around the bush so I don't ruin it. It's basically this big mystery story. It's like a game of Clue, right? There's a bunch of characters, and I immediately pegged the character. I was just like, I feel like that's the guy who did it. I just feel like, and there's even a mild spoiler, it's a guy. But I had something about, I don't know if it was because I liked the actor, just the way he was acting. I just like 5 minutes in was like, nah, it's got to be him. Everyone else is like, everyone else has their things, but they're all kind of clean. And I don't know, this guy's always the good guy. Maybe he'll be a bad guy here. I just kind of pegged it right away. And so I watched the whole movie being like, I'm going to be wrong. Like, what's the chances? 1 out of 10. And then at the end, I was like, damn, I kind of wish I didn't have that going into it. But I just knew. the 5 minutes in, I was like, it's this dude. It's got to be.
Did it affect you enjoying the movie?
No, not really. I mean, the movie was still fun. And I like I said, I was kind of the whole time convincing myself it wasn't going to be him. I was like, I think it is, but no, it can't be. It can't be. There's no way I'm right. So that was almost enjoyable in a weird, different way. Like,
Sure.
trying to undo what I've already thought is going to happen in my head.
Right. My answer for this is The Prestige. And the way I figured out the ending is a deeply nerdy thing where everybody in that movie is super famous. And then there's one character that doesn't get any close ups. And I was like, hang on. And I clocked it so early that I hate that movie. And like I have one friend that agrees with me on this where we are bonded in our hatreds of the Prestige, but people get really upset with me and I'm like, I hate the Prestige. But like I figured it out so early because everybody else, it's like Hugh Jackman, Christian Bale, David Bowie, everyone's super famous. And then there's this one very important character that they just won't show his face. And I was like, that is suspect as hell.
Yep.
That's very suspicious. And yeah, I called it. So
it kind of ruined it for you.
It absolutely ruined it for me. So this week we're going to talk about mysteries and thrillers that are on Kanopy that you can watch right now. Jeff, do you want to kick off this week's list, or would you like me to?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. So my first pick, I actually just talked about this on Instagram, so this is very relevant. I just talked about this movie, and I got a lot of people saying, "Wow, that was so good," or "Wow, I've never heard of that," which is wild. And it's Nightcrawler, which I can't believe, but came out in 2014 because I feel like I just saw this in the theater yesterday. But boy, time flies, and it was actually a directorial debut by Dan Gilroy's the director. His first movie, which wild when you see this. Like, this is the first movie this guy ever made. But Jake Gyllenhaal's the star. He went super, super method on this. Like, lost a bunch of weight, has insane scenes. It's actually one of the best performances I've seen. I came out of that movie in the theater and went, that's an Oscar Best Actor nomination, maybe a winner. He didn't get either. He got no recognition for it, which tends to happen. But it dives in. The thrilling part of it is really watching a man just kind of unravel. So basically, Jake Gyllenhaal's this kind of ambitious guy who's trying to make it in this crime journalism as like a freelance journalist, and he's running around taking pictures of all the most violent stuff, like it's car crashes, shootings, anything that happens. He's trying to be there on scene, be the first person to get pictures literally of like bodies on the ground, like very dark, and then sell them to news stations and sell all the footage. And then he starts to get really good at it, and he is successful, and the news loves it. And they kind of just keep pushing him to do more, and he pushes himself to do more. Then you kind of get into this, like the line starts to blur between reality and fiction, and things start to get a little dicey at that point. So, I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal goes nuts. It is a wild, wild performance. But I also love that, like, for 2014, way ahead of its time, like when it comes to like how the media works and satire, but like just social media and all that. Like, this 2014, social media exists, but it's not like it is today. It was way ahead of its time in that way, where just like everybody has a camera, everybody's shooting everything, and like where do you draw the line between what we show on TV and what we don't? Where does people's privacy come in? But a great movie. If I could make a comparison, I'd say it's like Taxi Driver and Network kind of combined with a little American Psycho. So if that gives you the right vibe, that's a pretty wild movie if you think about mixing those three, and that's what Nightcrawler is.
I love that movie. My pick is less intense than Nightcrawler, but I think that's kind of unexpected considering who headlines it. It's Pig from 2021, and it stars Nicolas Cage in a movie about a man seeking his pig. And like, that premise sounds really outrageous. And if you're thinking Nicolas Cage, you might have some sort of John Wick scenario in your head. That's not what this movie is. It is this really thoughtful indie thriller written and directed by Michael Samosky. And it's like this actually very restrained Cage performance where he is a forager and truffle hunter who lives in a remote forest outside of Portland. And his pig is stolen from him very violently one night, and it forces him to go into the weird culinary underbelly of the city to find the pig. And through this, it's like a question of like, who can you trust, but like also what does it mean? Like, what is legacy, and what does our art mean if the people that we are giving our art to, in this case cuisine, like don't care about it the way we do? It's a really fascinating film that's very submersive and very surprising. And Nicolas Cage is just phenomenal in it. Like, I know that there's always talk about, like, is Nicolas Cage a good actor or a bad actor? And I have no patience for that argument. He is an amazing actor. And if you don't feel that way, I feel like you need to watch more movies like Pig. So yeah, truly, truly an outstanding movie. It was one of my favorite movies of 2021, and I rewatched it today to prep for this. I say to prep, it was just to treat myself. And it's just such a really like gnarly, strange, meditative movie that I just loved sinking back into its sway.
No, I haven't actually seen that one, but it was pitched to me by a few people as like John Wick esque with a pig, and it doesn't sound like that's really what it is, which is
Tone wise, no.
yeah, which is more interesting to me than just John Wick with a pig. Like that's been done. So I'm gonna have to add that one to the list because I do love Nick Cage. I've got some Nick Cage on my list too later on, but I think he's a great actor too. I'm with you. For my next pick, we're staying dark. Manhunter, 1986. So this is before Silence of the Lambs, but it is an adaptation of a Hannibal Lecter story. In this case, it was Red Dragon. So this is directed by Michael Mann. I think most people know Michael Mann from Heat, probably is what most people know him for. But it's got that kind of vibe. But the vibe of Manhunter is very 80s in Miami Vice-y mixed with a little Zodiac and a little Seven. But it's essentially just the same story. You've got Will Graham. He's an FBI profiler. He gets pulled out of retirement to hunt a serial killer known as the Tooth Fairy. And, then you've got to work with Hannibal Lecter to try to catch this person. So it's really interesting. Hannibal Lecter's played by Brian Cox, who is great. William Peterson plays Will Graham, also great. The cast is incredible. The Tooth Fairy killer, very creepy. It's like super underrated when it comes to like in that world of Hannibal. Like I think everyone thinks of Silence of the Lambs and Red Dragon. You think Anthony Hopkins, and I get it because he's incredible. But this one came before it, and it's a totally different vibe. But the first time I saw it, I was in love. It's super stylistic, like neon drenched synth score. It's everything like 80s. It's like an 80s Silence of the Lambs. Like it's just a totally different vibe than what you're used to with those movies. And it is, the adaptation of Red Dragon. But if you've seen that, I like Manhunter a lot better. I think Manhunter, like for me, could be like a 1A, 1B with Silence of the Lambs when it comes to that whole world of Hannibal. Like it's that good in my opinion. I think it's a modern classic that needs some more eyes on it.
I love that. That's actually a blind spot of mine, so I'll have to check that out.
It is super cool. You'll vibe with it.
I do love a dark movie. My next pick is in that vein. It is Triangle from 2009. Have you seen this movie?
No, this is on my list too.
Oh,
I know of it, but I have not seen it.
dude, I think you will like this movie. So it's such a freaky fun story about 20 somethings who are like going on a boat trip and it's supposed to be a nice relaxing day, but it's not because they end up on an abandoned ocean liner with a masked killer they can't get away from. But here's the thing, like it sounds like it's a slasher and you might be thinking like this is a mystery thriller, like what are you throwing a slasher on here for? It's not really a slasher because the central character of it, played by Melissa George, is trying to figure out like why things aren't adding up. Why is she having a weird sense of deja vu? What is going on? And this is one of those movies that as soon as I finished watching it, I was like, I want to watch this again. And because now you want to go back and you want to know the clues and you want to see if you could have, like, where would you have figured it out? And like, it's such a weird, like mid 2000s thriller. It's written and directed by Christopher Smith, who did Severance and Black Death. And like, it's just such a gnarly movie because you go from these like tense moments of like trying to figure stuff out to like killing scenes that are wild. So like I personally think it's a good date night movie because I'm the kind of person that's like, let's have some popcorn, let's get close, let's get scared. So if that sounds cool to you, go for it. Triangle is a lot of wild fun, and like maybe leave yourself time to watch it all over again.
That would be a fun date night if my wife was that. She's probably gonna just be terrified the whole time if it's scary, if it's on that side. But if it's more just like thriller, if it's more just like a what's going on here type thing versus straight horror.
It's a bit of both. It's a bit of both. I'm not gonna lie. There's some killing scenes
good.
in here. I can't very well be like, no, it's fine. It's mostly
that she doesn't mind as long as there's the gore doesn't get her. She doesn't like ghosts. So
okay.
No ghosts, no supernatural. Then we've got a date night movie.
Gotcha.
My next one does switch gears a little bit for me. I actually saw this film at the Independent Film Festival Boston way back in 2012, and I didn't know what to expect, but I just walked in and said, "Let's do it." It's a Hijacking. It's the name of the film. I don't know how to say it in Danish. Capring, Capringen, maybe. I don't want to butcher that, but the whole film is in Danish. It has a little bit of English mixed in, primarily Danish. But it came out right around the same time as Captain Phillips, and it is the same type of story. It's a hijacking by Somali pirates on a boat, but it's not Hollywood at all. Like it doesn't have the heroics and the dramatic rescues and the music, and it's like a quiet procedural. They actually spend a lot of time in the movie with the like the board of the company whose ship was hijacked and how they're dealing with it on their end, and like getting into the company's CEO trying to get them home and all this kind of negotiation, and what's a human life worth in the world of business, and it kind of gets into that stuff, which is really interesting. There's this bureaucracy in it, but it is like, if you like Captain Phillips, or you're like, I'd like this to be grittier and a little more raw, that's what it is. I mean, it is dark. There are moments on the boat that are, borderline horror. I mean, it's really scary stuff. It's very real. It feels almost like a documentary at times. So it has a great cast, including Pilo Aspak. He was actually, people probably know him from Game of Thrones. He was Euron Greyjoy, who comes in the last couple of seasons and was a complete maniac. So if you like that, he's not a complete maniac in this, but he's a great actor. This is the first movie I saw him in. He's actually in a couple others from the same director. There's one called A War, which he also did as a follow-up to a Hijacking, which is also very good. But it just does a brilliant job of giving you the most realistic, gritty depiction of like what would actually happen on one of these boats without any of the Hollywood tropes or the music or the melodramatics. Like it's a real punch to the gut, which for
Sure.
some reason always comforts me. So I loved it.
Well, my next pick is not for your wife. It is a ghost story, but it's a very unusual ghost story from 2011. The Awakening stars Rebecca Hall, and it's set post World War One, where like the UK was kind of full of people who claimed they could talk to the dead because there had been a lot of loss, and so a lot of people were trying to reconnect. And she is a debunker who is like, there is no afterlife, there are no ghosts. I'm gonna prove everything wrong. And she is very hated for this, very vilified for this. But then she gets a call to an all boys boarding school in like a lovely countryside area. And they're like, "We are haunted. Here is the proof." And she's like, "No, this is boys playing games. This is whatever." But once she gets there, she starts to kind of doubt herself because things start happening that she can't explain. And it becomes like this psychological thriller, a little bit of gothic horror, a little bit of like throwing back to those like great 1930s films where it's like a woman with children alone. Very the turn of the screw vibes. But then on top of that, like Rebecca Hall's always great, but you also have Dominic West as like this like sexy teacher love interest. So there's this whole thing, but it's like the mystery at its core is like it's not just a ghost story, it's not just a haunting, because it's like she does not believe there's ghosts. So she's trying to solve the mystery of like what's really going on here. And she is on to something. But what I loved about this movie was it was a movie, I'll be honest, the first time I threw it on while I was like doing stuff, which I sometimes do with movies I've never heard of because I'm like, whatever. And then I did that thing where I like did the dad standing where I was just like by the tea, and then I was like sitting, and then I was like, oh, this is just my day now, is I'm gonna watch this movie. And I've watched it and rewatched it, and it has such a satisfying conclusion that I just keep going back to it. So I was very stoked to find it on Kanopy because I was like, cool. Literally every time I find it on streaming again, I'm like, cool, excuse to watch this again.
Yeah, well, as a recent ish dad, I do love a good dad stand, and I find myself doing that. So if I can get by with that for this movie, maybe that's how I need to watch it. Just hands on hips in the opening to the living room, not too close to the TV, just kind of in the corner. But it does sound good. I mean, is it like Crimson Peak ish
No,
vibes?
I do love Crimson Peak. That's what that poster is. I
Yeah.
do love Crimson Peak. It's not like that. It's much subtler. It's much more like
Okay.
kind of classic, like as I said, like classic old school 1930s ghost stories where the question is like, are there ghosts or is this woman mentally unsound? And I think it's really great to watch Rebecca Hall in such a role. They wouldn't have her play someone who's like frail and like can't keep it together. So I think that's part of what caught me off guard with this movie. It's a very unique ghost story because it takes all these elements that I recognize, but it told a story I didn't see coming, which was very exciting. And the actual child actors in it are pretty good, which I do feel the need to point out because I am not someone who loves when kids are in horror movies.
It can be tough. I give those kids a lot of credit, but I do
Yeah.
love Rebecca Hall seems to do a great job at that. Like I loved The Night House, so I thought she killed in that. So I'm gonna have to check this one out because she did kind of a similar thing. Like you're like, nah, she's not gonna be. It's not gonna be that wild. She's playing it pretty straight. That sounds like fun. Um, my next one is definitely. This is probably the scariest, I'd say. The next two, but this one's probably the scariest on my list, and it's the most recent. So a lot of people have probably heard of it. Whether or not you've seen it, another story. But it's Longlegs, which just came out last year. I was there opening night because the marketing for this movie just sucked me in, and I was all in on like any of this like Blair Witch type marketing where you're like, I can look things up and call a phone number, and yeah, I'm all in. So they sucked me right in. I was there opening night. It was honestly not what I expected from the movie, but I didn't hate that. So the whole story is you've got Micah Monroe, who you probably know from It Follows. She's great. She's an FBI agent. She gets pulled into this case of really strange, unsettling, like horrible murders, like big group murders too. You know, it's like entire families. It's family annihilation wiped out. Yeah, like it's bad stuff. It's dark, but they all have this weird like occult overtone, and they kind of call her in, and she has sort of this like psychic vibe to her that they're kind of trying to play with. She has like intuition. They don't really say it's like magic or occult stuff or anything, but they kind of allude to it. And then you have Nicolas Cage, who they did a great job hiding in all of the marketing until the reveal, and he's just insane. I mean, I've seen a lot of Nicolas Cage. This might be one of the most unhinged character. I mean, he really got to just go for it in this one, which is he goes for it in all of his movies. So that's saying a lot. Like it was really disturbing, and I did not see this one coming. We talked about movies I saw, like I could figure it out. This one I couldn't figure out. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know where we were going to take it. It got much more like supernatural and horror than I thought it would. It got into the occult stuff. It gets into kind of satanic rituals. It gets really, really deep in a way that's it sort of sounds to the Lambs Manhunter, that kind of vibe, but like
Yeah, like director Osgood Perkins said it was inspired by those kind of movies.
yeah. And by the way, Osgood Perkins, if you don't know, son of Norman Bates, which I just love that fun fact. Like he's Anthony Perkins' son, and so the I think he brings some of that with him to his movies because they are all pretty dark. But yeah, it's that procedural 70s 80s serial killer drama, but mixed with like a Hereditary or there's a film called The Poughkeepsie Tapes, which it kind of reminded me of a little bit. It has this kind of lo-fi analog feel. It's set in
Mm-hmm.
the mid to late 90s. They
Mm-hmm.
don't really tell you when, but Bill Clinton's pictures on the wall in the FBI office, you know, it's like in that time period. And it's just really cool. I mean, it's slow, it's atmospheric, it's definitely like upsetting, and there are some very violent moments in it, but I think it's if you like that Manhunter, Silence of the Lambs type of procedural, even a Zodiac, which you brought up before, like I think you'll like this if you like that with a little bit more horror into it.
That's rad. Yeah, that one's a wild one. I remember that from last year and having people come out and be like, what do I do with that?" Which I like that
Yeah,
it's a mystery that even once it's solved, it kind of leaves you scratching your head a little bit.
and it's definitely one to watch. Like I've watched it twice since I saw it in the theaters, and you actually, you know, what pay attention to the backgrounds. Like I love when movies do that, but there are stuff happening you didn't see the first time
I'll
that you
keep that
pick
in
up the
mind.
second time. Yeah, just stuff in the shadows. It's there. It's almost like Haunting of Hill House, where they like threw random ghosts in the background. There's a little bit of that going on, which is really cool on a rewatch.
Nice. So my next pick has very little connection aside from like vaguely genre. It's Sea Fever from 2019. Do you know this one?
Nope. Your list is like brand new to me, so I'm very excited.
This
I'm getting a
uh
watch
this
list going.
this one is one I saw at a festival, and it really just excited me because it was so outside of what I'm accustomed to. It's set on a fishing trawler off the coast of Ireland, where this couple is like kind of catch hasn't been so good lately, so they agree to let a PhD student come aboard and do some research. And there's a real culture clash that immediately happens because like she is very pragmatic and very science, and they, as fishermen, believe in lore and superstition, and so there's some things going on there. And then they discover something odd. And I don't want to give away too much of what they discover, but it's like this fascinating movie about like who can you trust? And it's kind of folk horror because you have this person from a big city who has all this academia coming into this situation where they're like, this is mythological, and she's like, get out of here. But it's like it becomes this mystery of like, what is this thing? What effect is it having on the crew? How do they get out of this? And we've both talked about our love of Jaws. I love a sea set thriller because where are you gonna go? Like,
Right.
and like just the poster of Sea Fever is so good because it's just like a woman like swimming in like a scuba suit and just vastness, which I know for some people is a vacation. For me, literal nightmares.
Hmm.
But this one is so, so fascinating. It's written and directed by Nessa Hardiman, and it is just such a cool, lean indie movie that I locked into. And like, it's just, I'm hooked. I really think you'd get a kick out of this. It's lean and mean and exciting, and it's a hidden gem I implore you all to discover.
I do love a good folk horror, especially if it's set like seaside or there's something about, I don't know, maybe that's the New England in me, but like that's sounds right up my alley. So check on the watch list for sure. It sounds great, and I do love Jaws. So anything in the ocean, but I'm with you. I'm not getting caught dead in the middle of the ocean by myself. Speaking of things that scare me in particular, um, my next movie scares me because it triggers my social anxiety more than anything else. It's called The Invitation. It's from 2015. It's a smaller movie for sure. It came out from Draft House Films because I remember working with them on it when the Blu-ray came out. It was a very small production, but it was directed by Karen Kusama, who did Jennifer's Body, and had some great segments in like VHS, that horror anthology, if you know that. But the whole setup is basically this guy named Will. He gets invited to a dinner party hosted by his ex-wife and her new partner. So like already super awkward. Like yeah, it's a nightmare for me. Like if you told me I had to go there, I'm already like dreading my entire week until it gets there. But then as the night kind of unfolds, the vibes are really weird. Something's off. People feel off. Conversations are off. People are cheerful, but then not. There's things happening in the background. And this guy kind of just like it's Logan Marshall Green who plays Will, and he's great. And he's just like he's looking around like something's wrong. Am I being paranoid or is something like seriously wrong? Like why is nobody seeing the vibes are off here? Like this is a weird party. And it really doesn't tell you what's happening. It doesn't like over explain it. It's a slow burn. It doesn't rush anything. It just keeps building the tension, and like the will this character, he'll do something and he'd be like, oh, he's a bad dude. Like why did he do that? That was crazy. And then he does, and then something even crazier happens. It just keeps kind of escalating until the end, which is one of the most unsettling endings of a movie that I've seen. It's not like outright horrifying, scary, like jump scare, but it's just the implications of what the ending means for everybody in the area and at the dinner party is like pretty terrifying. Like it's absolute anxiety fuel. Like if you, it usually helps me with my anxiety, honestly, to watch something like this because I'm like,
Yeah.
at least I'm not Will. Like that's always what I go back to. Like at least I didn't have to do that. But there is definitely a little bit of like Rosemary's Baby vibe. If you've seen The Gift, there's a little bit of that. It's
Mm.
just one of those movies where it's like, am I the crazy person or is everybody else around me crazy? And why is nobody believing me that this is wrong? Which is so frustrating to watch sometimes, but the payoff in this is great.
Oh, I love that. So for my last pick, this is the one I teased that I've made people go see. Some people might call this my guilty pleasure pick, but I have no guilt. I love Serenity. And before you go, I also like the Firefly movie. No, not that one. I am talking about 2019, directed by Stephen Knight. It stars Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway. And it is like a weird neo noir, like 90s erotic thriller. And Matthew McConaughey he's on this like remote island where everything, is kind of like a little grimy, but still very beautiful. And he's living kind of a beach bum lifestyle, not unlike his character in Beach Bum. But in this one, he has a mission, and that mission is to catch a giant tuna that's been stalking the bay, and he's named it Justice. That is not the main plot of the movie. That is just a detail I love and want you all to know. But what happens is Anne Hathaway swans into town, and she's got a diamond ring on her finger, like big enough to light up the Chrysler Building. It's crazy. And like she's like, I need you to help me. And of course he's like, yeah, totally femme fatale. I'm in. And then everything that happens from there, like it starts off like this seedy, needy neo noir, but I promise you, no one watching this who doesn't already know the ending is going to guess what happens. And the reason I can feel very certain in this is this movie, it kept getting bumped. The distributors kept being like, it's August, never mind. It's October, never mind. It's January. And when I saw it, I loved it immediately. I saw it with 3 people in a screening room and like adored it. Came out, immediately started texting my movie critic friends and being like, y'all need to see this movie as soon as you can. Then I flew to LA for something and my friend goes, hey, 2 hours after you land, they're screening this movie. Do you want to go again? And I said, yes, I want to go again. And not only did I want to see it, I wanted to see her see it. And truly, when the twist came, the look on her face feeds my soul. Was she mad at me? Yeah, but I love it. And then I kept talking about it. So my friends who are not professional movie critics were like, well, I want to see this movie you're so crazy about. So opening weekend, we all went on a Saturday morning. And I I planted myself as in the middle of that group of people as I could because again, I wanted to watch everyone react to the moment where they reveal what is actually going on in this movie. And I treasure that moment. I've written about it on Mashable as like, I will show you my guilty pleasures and I have no shame. I took a photo afterwards that I have hung on my wall. Were my friends happy they watched this movie? Let's say the reactions were mixed. But one of my friends very famously said, when you recommend a movie, I don't know that it'll be good, but I know it won't be boring. And so I give you this. I cannot guarantee that if any of you watch Serenity with Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway and Jeremy Strong, so if you like Secession, let that be your lore. Also know that when I met Jeremy Strong, he had just won an award for Secession. I said, hey, congratulations. I've never seen the show, heard great things, but I loved you in Serenity. And just know that about me. He did seem genuinely delighted that that was the reference I made, but also confused because he was like, why is that what you're talking about? But like, I can't promise anyone will like this movie. But if you do like it, please go to pajiba.com and look at the articles I wrote years ago, convinced that some people like me would find this movie and be obsessed with it, because it is resoundingly considered a bomb. It was nominated for Razzies. Its Rotten Tomatoes score is at 21%. It is a huge box office bomb. It did not cost very much to make, but did not make it back. But here's the thing. I appreciate a big swing. And the reason I've been talking about this movie and not even hinted to what the plot is beyond a guy is trying to catch a fish named Justice is because it kind of doesn't matter. Because once you hit that plot point, there's no rules anymore and you don't know where it's going to go. And I personally found that very exciting and cannot wait to watch this movie again. I've watched it, I'm going to say 4 or 5 times already. And one of those times I made my partner watch it and his response was basically, really? So
but was he bored?
He was not bored. He did give me that. He was like,
then it was worth it.
Yeah, he agreed with my friend. He's like, no, like you don't pick boring movies, but this is like, I can't promise anyone else you will share the affection for this movie I have, but I do want to say, please, if you watch this, please get back to me and tell me what you think. Because I'm not kidding. This is not a movie that I'm like, I like it ironically. I don't like things ironically. I just accept that maybe I like things that aren't good. I don't care. I don't know if this is good. I have no objectivity about that. But I will say Serenity is a movie that surprised me so much and was so weird. And like that truly, Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway, this is not like a paycheck movie. Like they are giving everything to this weird little movie. And I met Anne Hathaway once and I told her I love this movie, and we had a very brief but lovely conversation while we were both wearing like ball gowns, for God's sakes, about this movie and how people didn't get it. And I was like, "Yeah, Anne, same. Like I have a Crimson Peak poster on my wall. I will advocate for the movies people misunderstood. So like that is my plea to you. It came out in January of 2019. It definitely got lost in the shuffle for a lot of reasons, but it is a weirdo thriller that you can watch on Kanopy, and I highly recommend you do.
I'm in. You've got me questioning. I'm thinking the tune is going to come out of the water talking or something. You've got me thinking all kinds of stuff now. So, like you said, I don't care, bad, good, whatever. That's all subjective as long as it's interesting and it keeps me engaged, which it sounds like it will. So I'm totally in for that. I love a big swing. So putting it on my list. We're gonna watch the McConaughey fishing movie with Anne Hathaway. So that wraps up our descent into the mysterious and the thrilling. Hopefully, you've got a few new titles on your watch list and maybe even a new appreciation for the slow zoom or the classic plot twist.
We'll have all of our picks in the show notes and over on Canopy's Letterboxd HQ account. If you're inspired to give any of these a watch, they're all streaming on Kanopy with no ads, no subscription fee, and no credit card required, just your library card.
Kanopy is available through participating public and academic libraries, and it gives you access to over 30,000 titles. Just know that access to films will vary by country and library, but with that said, the mystery binge is totally doable.
Subscribe to the Film Library so you don't miss future episodes, and if you're enjoying the show, leave us a review or share it with a fellow film lover. It really helps.
And keep an eye out. We'll be back with new episodes twice a month, spotlighting the best of Kanopy's collection. Head to www.kanopy.com to start streaming today.
And you can keep up with us and Kanopy on social media. I'm the Kristy Puchko on Instagram, and I'm also on Blue Sky and Letterboxd. Just search for Kristy Puchko. That's KristyPuchko.
And I'm Jeff Rauseo. You can find me on pretty much every social platform and on Letterboxd. Just search my name, JeffRauseo.
Until next time, happy watching, and remember, the call is always coming from inside the house.